Welcome to the 65th weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. We are the premier podcast focused on the hobby of collecting autographs and photo ops from celebrities. We talk about autograph conventions, on-the-street encounters, and everything else about this wacky hobby. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And your big boy purchase finally escaped from the hell that has been the U.S. Postal Service for the past 6 months or so and arrived at your house.
Yeah, I mean, this one actually wasn't... This one came from point A to point B rather quickly. It just appears like every mail truck in the fleet took a turn driving over it. And, I mean, first of all, it's funny, like the way these groups, the Marked Out group, the Major Pod group, like when you're these big groups, like I bought this on eBay, and just to let everyone know what this big boy purchase was, it was a Hulk Hogan Hasbro, a signed Hulk Hogan Hasbro that I've wanted since he was alive, and I was too cheap to do it, and now I figured, he's never going to be more alive, so let's just get it done. But anyway, I bought this on eBay, and the guy from eBay, messaged me on Facebook. That's how you know that you're far too deep in this collecting world, when they just find your Facebook, effortlessly from the eBay purchase. And I the box was destroyed, literally destroyed. When I saw it, I'm like, oh crap, this is not going to be good. But luckily, the seller packed to withstand a truck driving over it, which is what happened. It had a Defender case and probably legit 4 inches on all sides of bubble wrap and paper, and it was good. The figure is beautiful, and luckily, because especially a Hasbro, you see a box caved in on a Hasbro. I mean, it doesn't take much for that bubble to pop loose. Defender or no Defender, so I'm glad it was good.
You didn't tell me he found you on Facebook. What did he say?
Well, he found me on Facebook to confirm that the address was right. He sort of goes from the Ken school of packing and shipping, where he goes up to the counter and gives them an address, which, I mean, I don't know how anyone does that. That is really wild that anyone does that. So he wanted to confirm the address was correct. Of course, I was at work and I didn't see his message for 6 hours. So it was completely useless. He ended up just finding out from the clerk, I guess, that it was. But it just made me laugh. Like he just instantly knew, I guess, between Marked Out Collectibles, between the fact that you see my name, which is on our eBay account, in every group, every major group, which at this point, the real major groups, I think, are ours and that one, Major Pod, as far as real selling and stuff. And yeah, so all's well that ends well. Just to have the full thing out there, I dropped 5 bills on this Hasbro.
It's quite a chunk of change, but it's also probably a little bit underpriced given current market. I mean, it was interesting. I understand why, because there is no inscription or anything like that, so that's probably why it's it didn't command a huge premium. But I mean, that's certainly an investment piece.
Yeah. I know inscriptions on Hasbros are not even super common because there's not... I mean, first of all, a lot of them were signed back before there really was a craze of inscriptions. Also, there's not a ton of real estate with the cards. You try to, you don't want to really sign over the logo or the face, so there's not always much space. But I think the reason it went for a good price, and to people out there that aren't insane, $500 for an old, 35-year-old toy does not sound like a good price. But unsigned, it sells for $350, and this is with JSA, with signature. I mean, $500 is unquestionably a good price. What the seller did, and a little pro tip out there if you're selling something like this, he did a $499 opening bid, and he put 7 things up, all to close within 10 minutes. And it was all big boy purchases. And believe me, I wanted several of them, but I needed to be somewhat reasonable. So I picked this one. But I mean, you have to understand that you have only X amount of people in the world that are liquid and crazy enough to want this stuff and be willing to buy this stuff at a moment's notice. You really can't have multiple pieces like that closing at the same time. So it was honestly a perfect storm. He should have put it up for $1,000 and fielded offers. But his poor listing choice is my gain, I guess.
Yeah, there are definitely different strategies when listing on eBay. Very different strategies, and I do understand the high opening bid strategy. I have employed the high opening bid strategy. The high opening bid strategy sometimes does work. Maybe that was his buy it now. You know what I mean?
I guess. I mean, if it was his buy it now, it was a good strategy. But like my feeling was, you weren't going to catch a bidding war most likely when you have 3 Hogans all at the same price closing within 10 minutes. You're probably like that was my logic. If someone outbid me on this one, despite this being always my favorite, I always preferred this one over even Series 1. This was the one I enjoyed playing with the most. But I'm like, if someone goes to 6 or 7, I'm going to wait for the other 2. And if the third one, I'm down to the last one, then maybe I would raise my desire to spend a little higher. But I mean, I wasn't going to have a bidding war on Hasbro number 1 when there's 2 to follow. But if he was comfortable getting 500, and interestingly enough, the other 2, one sold, the other one didn't. So I mean, maybe $4.99 wasn't that far off. I don't know. But I mean, when you only give the buyer 7 days to decide if they want to spend the money, that's why eBay has honestly become, on big boy type pieces, much more of a buy it now, long game, field offers type of place. The auctions, I think, are more for the low starting bid. Get, it like, at least the way I play it, it's more for like the cheaper stuff that you just want to get moved.
I mean, also the auction function is really for very high demand stuff that's of the moment, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, in your case, the sheer glut of Hulk stuff on the market makes it not. There's so much of it. It's not that high demand, especially at these kind of niche items.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, just to put a ribbon on all this, I think we'll see if my future reports and stuff in weeks to come make me right. But I feel as if an itch on Hogan has sort of been scratched now with the Hasbro, with the seat back, with the posters. There's not really anything I'm dying to find. I'm always going to be looking if there's a cheap magazine that's real, or if someone drops like a full-sized original that I don't have for a great price, I'll be in the game. But I think for the most part, I think my Hogan itch has been scratched with this purchase.
Well, there you go. I mean, until you never know what you're going to come across, but it's nice. I think I'm thankfully done on Hogan because of
Fanatics Fest. You really cleaned up.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so I don't really need anything, and I have that WrestleMania 18 poster. I have a bunch of cool things that I like. So we're good with that, and maybe you're good with that too. We'll see what you talk the talk, and then we'll see if you can actually walk the walk when it comes to spending. Probably not, indeed. So yeah, there are a bunch of interesting reports we got this week. Rockin' with Dan gets Gene Simmons in Orlando. This is kind of, I guess, the beginning of Gene's con run. This round of it, he's done a few con runs in the past. He was in Orlando at Fan Expo. It's funny, there were some comments, I guess, criticizing Gene's facial expression during the photo. It seems that some people just can't be happy with anything.
Yeah, I know we get some interlopers, which is now one of my new favorite words, since you've been using it for all the randoms that pop in from the algorithm. I don't think that guy, the comments about the facial expression were from members. I don't think there was any like mean-spiritedness or anything like that towards Dan or towards the report, but I always sort of scoff at that whole like, oh, they look miserable. Oh, can't they smile? Like, if anyone here is familiar with horror movies, like if you've seen that movie Smile, where like the people just have that like frozen, like horrifying grin on their face, like, is that what we expect these people to do? Like, you have to understand, even though some fans are sharing these life stories and, they like to imagine that the talent is loving hearing about how they were helped by their performance to not, jump off of a bridge. Ultimately, this is work. If I pop up at any of these people's jobs and just snap a picture of them on their shift, I doubt they're grinning and looking thrilled with life at every moment. I think Gene Simmons looked fine. Gene Simmons is doing the little thumb point towards Rockin', which shows he's engaged in the experience and the encounter. And I think, like you said off air, he's making some sort of a face. I mean, at his age, you make a funny face. It could look like you're having a stroke. But I'm assuming, since he didn't have a stroke, that was his chosen face. I mean, he's not like a wax figure here. He's posing. I think anyone complaining about that is kind of silly.
And it goes back to our original conversations, sort of our ad nauseum conversations about what conceptually a photo op is. I mean, it is by definition a sort of artificial, contrived thing, and so they're going to periodically look weird. And I almost
Yeah.
think the ones that don't look weird are anomalies. Like most of them look weird in some way. So whatever, it's a cool shot. Good job rocking with Dan.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think you nailed it. I think for the people that make those comments, I think they don't want a photo op that appears transactional. It's supposed to appear warm and fuzzy between two, bosom buddies. But that is exactly what they are. They're transactions. They are cash transactions, and that is what it is. And if a couple of them look a little like professional, let's just say, that's because they are.
So, Greg 2600 did some street graphing. He got Shane Black, Jill Whalen, Ted Lang. He also went to a book signing for ballet star Misty Copeland. And when was the last book signing for a ballet star that you attended?
That is the one aspect of my collection that is definitely underdeveloped. I mean,
yeah,
I sure hope the combo gods aren't really taking ballet stars into effect when entering the convention gates in the sky.
Could you imagine? You will be judged by your ballet collection.
What?
Greg also went to the Creation Battlestar Galactica show. My takeaway was that he noticed that there was a slight change in setup from other Creation shows in that every guest got a table. He said they also did that like theater graph setup like they always do, but every guest got a table as well. And so, I think it's something to look out for. Maybe Creation is changing a little with the times. Maybe this one show was a one-off. It was an anomaly. I guess we'll see. I mean, I will not be testing the waters with Creation shows. Truthfully, whenever it was it last year? Or I think it was last year when Creation was going to run that The Boys show opposite Chiller, and I was all scheduled to go, and they started just canceling guests left and right. And so it made my decision very easy to not even dip my toe in that water again. And I look at these Chiller, not Chiller, Creation lineups. I used to follow the Creation page and really look at every lineup before I realized how annoying Creation shows actually were. So I don't see myself dipping my toe into Creation anytime soon. But if anyone else wants to go to these Creation shows and report on them, we'll be happy to take the info.
Yeah, I was going to say, Greg, for someone who really does not like Creation, sure finds himself at a lot of Creation shows. He definitely takes one for the team as far as this hobby goes. And yeah, I will be more eager to see reports than I will be to actually decide to go myself. But anyone else brave enough to attend, please let us know how they go in the future.
What else we got? Canadian listener Roy, he went to Hamilton Comic-Con, which is in Hamilton, Ontario, and he got Kim Coates. Honestly, anytime I see Kim Coates, I'm reminded of your pen explosion story with Kim Coates.
God. Yeah.
you were so distraught.
I was really distraught because, and here is precisely why I don't do these types of things. That was like some weird consignment I begrudgingly accepted from someone that bought from me before, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. And then of course the damn printer guy sent me, the pen explodes, and the pen was fine, but Kim's a little hard on the press, and then the whole thing was just a pain in the ass, and that's why I hate consignments. But Kim Coates is great, and honestly, it's nice to have our first Canadian report. I believe this is our first Canadian report, so thank you, Roy. Welcome aboard, and any other Canadians out there, send your reports our way.
I think someone else traveled to Canada for a con, but they were American. But I believe count. I agree. This is our first genuine Canadian report, and I'm here for it. Vinny hit the Broadway flea market and grand auction. It seems like they were really trying to push people through with autographs, and autographs were very, very, very affordable. It was the kind of thing where you do a donation of like $30 and you get 2 autographs from each person. And so he got Scott Bakula, Judy Kuhn, F. Murray Abraham, Bernadette Peters. Then the photo ops are a little bit pricier. I'm not gonna lie though, when I saw his photo with F. Murray Abraham, I immediately thought about Fatwa the musical from Curb Your Enthusiasm, because he played Ayatollah, that was that whole thing with F. Murray Abraham complaining that Larry wore the same pair of pants twice in that whole episode. So that's like my particular affinity for F. Murray Abraham is from Curb. So I thought Vinny's report was great. I thought those are really great photo ops. Someone like a Bernadette Peters, I think, would clean up on the con circuit. I think Abraham would also clean up on the con circuit. I think the issue with these people, though, is they work so much they can't commit to cons like that.
Yeah. I used to do the Broadway flea market years ago. I got Ed Asner there. I got Zachary Levi there. I got Judith Light, a bunch of people. Honestly, it seems like like not much has changed in these 10 years. The photo op price has changed. Like Bernadette and Michelle Williams were $1.50 each, which I mean at a con is about what they'd be. Like Vinny passed on Michelle Williams, and honestly, I'm not mad at that decision. But I mean, she is a member of Destiny's Child. I mean, she's probably not hitting Looney Tunes anytime soon. If you are a fan of that in any way, it's reasonable. Bernadette for sure is reasonable. I think Abraham was less than $150. I think Vinny said he was 40, maybe 60.
Yeah, $40.
Something like $40. So that's undervalued. He'd be more than that at a chiller, I think, or at least $20 more. Yeah, it was good, but the issue is, I want to just sort of caution people that do this, or at least in my experience, the autograph line is such a cattle call. You're really like, if you think you're going to get selfies with all 20 people, you're not at all. Maybe if you got video rolling and you have one guy or girl you really want, maybe you get lucky and you pull it off. But it's not really conducive for that. An autograph is an autograph. You're not really getting all combos across the board.
Yes, I mean, but honestly, the autographs are priced so low that cattle call the autographs and then worry about the photo ops. Pay the pro.
Yeah, but the thing is, not everyone does them. Like I didn't seem like, unless Vinny didn't need it, it didn't seem like Bakula did ops, which kind of surprised me. He probably did. Vinny just didn't get it. I'm assuming he did.
Yeah, he didn't say, so I'm not sure. Another wild thing, and this is something that I don't know how it made you feel. It made me feel very warm and fuzzy. Given the subject matter is very strange, but it made me feel very warm and fuzzy for the old days of Marked Out. When I swear to God, it was an offhand comment that we made last week about the Chris Benoit Chris Benoit signed figures and the figures from his office, and what was the context we were even talking about that?
It's a really good question.
I don't remember. No. But it was an offhand comment. I'm pretty sure it wasn't even in the show notes. It was just a comment that we made, and it was really directed at Corey, who's been around the Marked Out boards forever. And you made a joke that he was under the username Tommy Highland on the board. And that was the context in which we talked about it. And did you know that Vinny was the one who made those figures, or no?
I didn't. I did not at all know that. Once Vinny posted that, and he posted his like wrestling figs like forum name, I feel like I have a weird memory in my head of like a 16-year-old Vinny. Like if he I feel like I recognize like that concept of a guy named Vinny that did the customs. The name sounded familiar. It's just wild. It really is wild.
What a small world.
I'm saying we're talking a global podcast. If you don't believe us, I mean, we've got a report from Canada. So it is absolutely global. And I mean, the internet is as global as it comes. And you have this like weird little like just like happenstance and like kismet and all these things all blended together, where two of our members on the group were the person that got the stuff done, the person that created it. And it's wild. And it was very cool. And it also kind of went viral. I think it's up around 100,000 impressions since it was posted. And it shows that the Marked Out classics still play to a large like stadium audience. If we're using like a concert reference.
Yeah, I it's a weird thing because obviously the Chris Benoit story is like thickening, and even thinking about it now and just reflecting on it, and the fact that this was a long time ago now. What year was that? We're got to be closing in on 20 years, right?
Yeah, it was probably like 07, 08. Wait, are we talking about his death or when this report was?
Yeah, his death was 07.
Yeah.
We're closing in on 20 years ago. Dude, that was 20 years ago almost. 18 years ago.
Well, I mean, yeah, Punk was like a rookie in WWE, and he was supposed to be put over by Benoit. And then that's what happened.
So just thinking about that this was a big thing on the board. When this happened, I remember Tommy Highland, Corey, he posted the story about how he gotten this figure signed by Chris Benoit at signings, and Chris got very emotional when he saw the figures, and he gave some as a gift. And then I remember when the whole thing happened that we saw photos of those figures in the crime scene photos, and it was completely wild that the official crime scene photos had these figures in them. And then the fact that Vinny reveals the whole story about how Corey commissioned Vinny to make those figures, and some were given as a gift, some were given to Corey. Well, not given, I imagine he sold them to Corey, and then some were given as a gift to Benoit. And then it is Vinny who has that very rare, one of a kind inscribed autograph. That's not a thing, it's an autograph from Benoit. It's just and a few old timers commented. Sig commented how like I remember the thread. I remember the thread on Marked Out when Corey posted it.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. It's like all the faces from the past that this hit, their algorithm. And yeah, really a small world. Thank you to Vinny for posting that. Thank you to Corey for contributing and filling in some blanks. Like, I didn't realize he'd spoken to Chris's son since the whole thing. And like they had a little correspondence about the figures, which I think the son is still in possession of. So it's still all in the Benoit family. And this is honestly about as warm and fuzzy as one could have a story about a guy who killed his entire family 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think for me, the warm and fuzzy piece of it is this connection to the community. How this is it's such a real like clear example of how there I guess the affinity. The word I'm looking for is sort of the affinity that the community has for one another. It's just strange. It's a very strange thing. It's a very cool thing. Yeah, I was really happy to see it, and it it shows that even though the board is dead, the board will never die.
Oh, I just heard whimpers from New Jersey and Virginia with that comment you just made.
The board is dead, but the board will never die, because it was a special moment in time. It was a meaningful group of people. I think, as weird as it sounds, now we're going off script completely. I think that we on that board actually changed the hobby in ways probably that are hard to measure, or maybe ways that we don't fully understand. But we definitely we were responsible for shaping some of the norms of the hobby, even for people who never visited that site. But because so many people did, because so many people were lurkers there, participants there, that it became sort of legendary.
I agree, and I just want to from my perspective on this, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but when you say that we changed the hobby in ways, I agree with you. But I think by we, I don't just mean like us, like, the Marked Out team. I mean like everybody, like, Corey posting this way back when, like every single person, Big Blue taking pictures at the deli, like every person, not just the people that created it. Like if we created it, no one else came on to post, it would have been nothing. So
Right.
Everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I keep using the word community. And so
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, look, I was not even that much of a, I posted, I would say more prolifically then than I do now, but I would still not one of the major, I was probably not even in the top 10 of people who posted with most frequency. I mean, I had a few feuds and I had a few threads that were big, but it was, but
And yes, I will also say that without Class 316 was also one of the people that was instrumental. He was, for good and bad reasons, he was absolutely someone that brought eyeballs.
Yeah, but all these characters, Big Blue and all that.
It was really good.
Indie nut. I'm an indie nut, Mark. I always will be.
We got to make a T-shirt for that.
Yeah, Indie Nut is, of all the marked out characters, Indie Nut is my favorite. If you don't know, you missed out. There's no other way to say. And you had the good fortune of at least seeing him in person. I haven't even. So
yeah, and it's last point on marked out, which actually ties into what I was talking to you about off air. I am going to attempt for more of the for the Facebook group. I'm going to try to do a little bit more with a little bit more regularity, and I also encourage and challenge other people with awesome encounters to basically do the same. I am going to try to bring back and create some flashback reports from like the board's heyday for the Facebook community at large to sort of experience for the first time. Like, we've told the story of the fake chiropractor conference, but I think there's a lot of fun, a lot of pictures, a lot of like memories and moments that I'm going to put that to a flashback report. And like I said, other people out there that whether you were on marked out back in the day or you weren't, feel free to post some of your and don't post we've had people posting like 16 different posts in 10 minutes with one post, one photo each post. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. But I mean, try to make a report that it's not just like flooding the feed. But let's get some fun flashbacks going and sort of talk about the past of the hobby, because as we see with this post and this whole like weird little like fate and like this interconnectedness, it's kind of fun to to think back how far we've all come.
I would even go so far as to say that I think there are probably more stories like this that could emerge if people told all of the stories from the past. I mean, I'm just thinking about, when I and a few others flew out to LA for that WrestleCon where they had Liger and Muta, and it was me, it was Carlucci, it was Sig, it was Rob, and Evil Genius Jeff just hosted us at his home. I slept on his couch next to his cat. And that was these are guys we kind of knew each other, but didn't really all know each other. Some of those guys knew each other better than I knew them. We knew each other from cons, and yet we had this whole kind of trip together. There's that great shot of all of us on Jeff's couch, and and now that that Rob has sadly passed away since then. It's nice to look back on those kind of things. There were all kinds of fun hobby stories from the past that were on the board.
That never would have happened. You would not have been on a California couch of some guy if there was no board. Like that whole thing.
The board was everywhere. Even when I went to Tampa, for Undertaker with Evan, and that was from the board. It's just that's how it is, man. It's a weird thing, and it's a freaking cool thing. And going out to LA and meeting Todd the Bod from the board, and even when we had that dinner. Remember, sometimes it comes up as a flashback on Facebook. We had the dinner after Rhode Island Comic Con at that pub. Remember?
That was whoa. We actually got Class. I think Class was there. Class actually sat at a restaurant.
Dave was there. Remember?
I'm not sure what he actually bought. I can't imagine Class had much of a restaurant tab, but he was there. Everyone was there. Asian Dave. Yeah, that was a hell of a moment.
Yeah, and it's all from this incredible community. So I'm thrilled that this community is continuing to grow and also remain cohesive, and we can be sort of friends or whatever the word is with this extended wacky crew of people. It's very cool. I don't know why I went down. I maybe, look, this has been a weird week for me. One of the reasons why, well, the reason why that the episode was late last week was we put my cat to sleep. I've been all up in my in thinking about existential crises and all that. So maybe that's why I'm coming out with this now. I'm not sure, but maybe it's just because of what it just happened that this post happened this week, and I was like, damn, this just brings back really, really cool memories. And so, I hope to make more memories in this hobby and also kind of cherish and celebrate the cool stuff from the past. So, with that brings us to Wicked Ink Wednesday. There were some really sick pieces this week in all different ways. Andrew posted that shot of, I guess, Kathy Ireland at the plate, taking a swing at a baseball game or some kind of baseball appearance, and with the inscription "Let's Go Mets." And I love like fish out of water shots. I think they're fun. I think a lot of people like them. That was like Vinny's last week with the shirtless shortstops.
Yeah.
This is Kathy Ireland, at the plate with the bat. They fish out of water, so they're fun. I
think the Mets could use Kathy Ireland on the field right now.
No, I have no idea anything about that, so I'll take your word for it. And then, go ahead.
David had a dollar bill signed by Curt Hennig and Wade Boggs. And if you are someone that doesn't know the story and you just look at this, skin deep, you're like, okay, one of the better wrestlers of all time, and one of the all-time great third basemen. That's cool, but like, why? And the reason is they did those like little sports vignettes together, and they also were like super close friends. And Wade had some sort of an accident while hunting. I forget exactly what caused he had some like injury where he was going to bleed out, I believe. And Hennig just like threw him over his shoulders and like carried him to safety, basically. And yeah, like Curt and Wade absolutely love each other. Someone else somewhere, I think in that thread, posted a photo where they had Wade Boggs sign a baseball that was already signed by Curt Hennig, and like Wade Boggs like kissed the baseball like after signing it. So I mean, he absolutely loves Curt Hennig, and that's a special piece.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool. Again, because of the story attached to it, it's very, very interesting. Also, this one really popped me. It was Vinny's picture, and he got it through the mail. Of Bill Mercer, who stuck the microphone in or got in Lee Harvey Oswald's face and said, "You have been charged," and that was like a sort of a famous media moment. And so Vinny sent that still shot to Bill Mercer, who autographed it and actually inscribed that "You have been charged." It's like that's real history. Obviously, you're not getting Lee Harvey Oswald, so
some vendors could.
Yeah. But what a cool thing. I mean, there's a part of me that really, really, really deeply wants to get into historical autographs. I just know it's a dangerous, dangerous road to travel down because the costs are exponentially greater than our costs. So whenever I see anything historical, it gets a huge reaction from me. So that's Wicked Ink Wednesday.
Thank you to all who contributed, as always. And in con news for New York Comic Con, they have added Rowdy Ronda Rousey for all 4 days. And let the record be clear. I don't believe she's doing any paid ops. She's not doing like Autograph Alley. She's basically bouncing around to different booths. There's a photo that was posted on the different NYCC pages. If anyone needs it, just shoot me a message, or I'll even throw it in the group if I think of it. But she is available all 4 days for varying things. And I mean, we've been on record. I know some people disagree, but we've been on record where we think this is like the single greatest convention lineup of all time. And for Saturday, the biggest day of all, typically, they just messed around and added Norman Reedus as a one-day only guest. And if we were going to make, which I'm not going to get into it now because I think it actually could be a fun episode, if we were going to make a Mount Rushmore of like just convention talent of like who's the most consistently good draws, no matter how often they come around, Norman is on that list, and Norman has not been in these parts in a minute. So if you think you're going to casually stroll up to that table on Saturday to see Norman, I mean, he's going to draw. And that is ridiculous that they just added a guy of his caliber on top as a sprinkle on top of a sprinkle on top of a sprinkle of this insane Sunday that they've put together. And just, with all good things comes a bad, and Famke Janssen canceled on, I think she was also there on Saturday because I was unable to get her. And this actually makes me feel better because I'm not going on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much Regis is going to draw in light of all these others. I mean, there's only so many places people can go at once.
Maybe pre-orders will hurt him because people have already allocated time and finances. But I mean, I think if you wipe the slate clear right now and said, all right, everyone's money is back, everyone's time is open, who do you want to meet? Norman Reedus would absolutely, and I won't be there to see it. You will if you walk through, take a little gander for us. I think he's going to draw really well. He's going to fill up his queue for sure. He will be overflow across the aisle like they usually do. He's going to draw. I think honestly Norman could show up unannounced and he would draw pretty damn good.
Yeah, I will say Norman's pop culture relevancy is not as high as it was at the peak of his con appearances, but I do think he'll draw tremendously well. What else do we have? Monster Mania Oaks. This lineup is just, aside from Robert Patrick, this lineup is just not doing anything for me. They added Annabeth Gish. They added the cigarette smoking man William B. Davis. They added William Zabka, C. Thomas Howell, Tom Savini. I mean, C. Thomas Howell and Tom Savini are like D-level guests at this point. They've been a million shows. Zabka, I mean, I've seen him more frequently than many of my family members. William B. Davis is always a cool name, but I imagine his niche is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, as X-Files becomes less and less culturally relevant, I got him at Chiller 100 years ago, and I was joking with you. He was 100 years old at Chiller. How old is this guy? He's got to be 80, no?
And they say smoking kills. Look at him. He's chugging along.
Dude, he's 87 years old.
There you go.
So if you need William B. Davis,
get your ass to Oaks.
Yeah.
I actually have an opposite take. I get I'm kind of blinded by the Nun and Linda Blair, who I shockingly need. And as we get closer to this show, whenever I like hype it up a little bit, I will get into the insane thoughts I'm having about what I should be doing with the Linda Blair items that I'm shopping for. It's wild and honestly ridiculous. But in other news, I think Monster Mania is making a very, very strong statement with this lineup. I think, even though I don't need a lot of it, I think this lineup is really good. You're talking about an X-Files reunion, albeit without Duchovny. You got a lot of cool names. I think they are trying, which is I think was always the plan, but they are trying to make Oaks, I believe, their premiere show, where they bring the biggest lineups that they would hope will draw the biggest crowds. Will this work? Is this the lineup to get it done for the masses? I don't know. I don't know what the X-Files fandom is really like on a convention level in 2025. But I think this lineup to me is a lot more spirited, a lot more flashy than the last couple Cherry Hills. And I don't think it's just coincidence. I think this is by design.
Yeah, it's just not for me. I have all these people. I have all of them. So, I mean, at some point, I know we the lunatics of the hobby, we always run into this dilemma that we have these people, we don't need them. And so I'm not going to keep going for repeats. The fact that you need stuff for Linda Blair boggles the mind. I mean, truthfully, I never got her. I never got her because her lines were always long and I just didn't want to deal with it. I should have gotten her. Maybe the answer is I go to Oaks and I get Patrick and Blair and be done with it.
Probably.
Maybe that's the answer. I just don't want to go. I don't want to friggin' go, man. It's a horrible weekend to travel. It just is. It suck. If we go, you have to drive. How about that? I can't do it. Maybe I don't even know.
I think I am driving. You drove the last time to the far outers of Pennsylvania. I think you made the last Oaks drive, so I wouldn't be driving.
I did. I don't know.
And listen,
these problems, these shows, like these far driving, these traveling shows, they just, to me anyway, they kind of suck the life out of you. Where then like everything else going on in your life has to kind of hit the pause button.
Of course, the other stuff in your life doesn't yield combos. That's what you got to do, of course.
Oh, I know you're joking, but it's like, I don't know. Do I really need that Laserdisc for T2 completed? Like, I really want it. But so it's funny. Okay, so to explain this to me then. So I bought that Jurassic Park thing signed by Spielberg, right? To get signed by the 2 kids at Steel City. Have I sent it out just for the Sam Neill signing yet? No, I haven't. Explain why. I don't know the answer. I haven't.
I wouldn't mail it out either, 'cause I'd be paranoid. So I can't really shame you for that. But given your usual habits, you really got to get on it. And just to be fair, since you make it sound crazy with Linda Blair, I met Linda Blair once, and the only item I got signed was an 8x10, as Greg and someone else pointed out. An 8x10 can't be a mini poster, but it is an 8x10 print of the poster image. And
that's disgusting.
And I absolutely, The Exorcist is yearly watch every Halloween season. That is on my Mount Rushmore of movies, of definitely of horror movies. Maybe not of movies in general, but of horror movies. And I need some actual like tangible stuff. And I'm thinking about an original full size, which is crazy. And yes, I just talked about it now, and I said I'd talk about it later. But I am weighing an original full size, even though wall space, where am I going to put all these damn things? But I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really caught in flux right now with this hobby, because there's certain things that I really, really like, but there's other aspects of it that are they're killing me. And the thinking about Oaks is really tough. I mentioned it last week. Looking at Chiller's lineup, I'm probably not in for that.
I guess unless we manage to do it all in one day.
Right. Well, in that case, who cares? What's it? In for a penny, in for a pound, right? But I am committed to chill out. Also, not for nothing, but this fall is very, very busy for me. Also, I'm going out of the country. There's a couple other things that are like, every weekend has something. NYCC, I'm committed to 5 consecutive days as it stands now, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because of the Reese Witherspoon thing. It's crazy.
A little bit. In other news, Chiller adds, speaking of not having a reason to go to Chiller adds Ann Bobby and John D. LeMay. Not for me. Not much more to say than that. Just not for me. Also not for me, luckily. In other news, Steel City December adds Joel David Moore, who is unquestionably going on a run. And listen, he should. He's a perfect name for it. And Friday only, Charlie Sheen. And you need Charlie Sheen, but I know you're not even tempted, given the Friday especially. That's like, forget it.
Yeah, that's just preposterous. Come on.
But I mean, if I needed him, come on, Charlie. Now he seems a little bit healthy. He's marketing non-alcoholic beer, but I mean, this guy was slamming more rocks than Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I mean, the fact that he's still alive is shocking. So I mean, if you need Charlie Sheen and you're anywhere near Monroeville, I would go, like, for sure. But I mean, thank God I don't have that temptation.
Yeah, that's not a realistic. No. Charlie is
Friday's bad.
Yeah, it's in that way. It's just not. That's not for me. And that's a very, very. That's an easy one. That doesn't even tempt me a little. What else are we looking at? Rhode Island Comic-Con added Nick Carter. He's a regular at this point on the con scene. He always draws huge, always huge. And Mike Coulter, who's also becoming a regular, who really doesn't draw huge. So
no, I'm hoping. And
I like Mike Coulter. I'm a fan of Mike Coulter's, but these are easy passes for me.
Yeah, same. I'm hoping Rhode Island adds Charlie Sheen. We've seen a little bit of RICC Steel City bleed over. I got him in Jersey, I would absolutely pay for a Cryer, Sheen, 2.5 Men, Harper Brothers duel up. Without question, blind buy, doesn't matter what the price is, I would get that. That would be sick. But I don't even know if their relationship is in a place where they would really want to do that. Probably more so from John's position.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it would be cool. Yeah, sure. And then the last piece of news, you sent me this, I cracked up. Cardi B broke a Guinness World Record this week with the most signed items sold in a single 8-hour period. I didn't know we were measuring such things, but apparently we are.
That's the world we live in. That's like those ESPN stats that, Nikola Jokic is the first 7-footer who's white, who has a triple-double on Christmas with a black sock. Like, you start looking at these little, like, minute details to make these stats more unique. Like, I mean, who cares? It's just funny to me that, I mean, of those signed items sold in that 8-hour period, which is apparently a very important period of time, how many did she actually sign? It's just hilarious. But, I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, I know she signed a bunch. There were videos of her signing a bunch. It's just, yeah, it is funny that there's definitely some secretarial stuff out there as well.
I guess it takes a village.
Yeah. Also, our photo with Friday. There was another. I couldn't resist. Andrew posted a shot with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was looking down, signing a baseball. It again brings up questions of validity. I think it's clearly cool. It's clearly good. It's a great shot. It's also fun. It also, I think, time-wise, it was right after he left office, so you're getting like presidential-looking Bill as opposed to, Night of the Living Dead looking Bill. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's Monica suited Bill right there.
There you go. Bob Pivaroff. I mean, I look forward to his shots every week because I know they're going to be completely insane. Because he has probably the best collection of anyone on earth. But he posted a shot with Adrian Adonis, and it was like original Adrian Adonis, like biker Adrian Adonis, which is like multiple layers of cool. And he did say he was miserable, which is funny. In the shot, it was a great shot. There's a guy. Just for context, Adonis died in '88.
I'm saying that's even your old school collectors weren't out collecting when he was alive. So I mean,
and certainly not photos.
No, that is a real like testament to Bob's longevity and also fresh and future forward thinking. Because when people were getting little scraps of paper signed, Bob had a camera, so he was really planning ahead.
That's his ingenuity, quite clearly. It just is. Also, then Jonathan dropped a great shot. He said, I wish he would have posted some context, because it was a surprise shot with Lin-Manuel Miranda. I guess there was some kind of event where he wasn't announced, or he was seen out in public. I know that Lin-Manuel Miranda, again, also someone who because I was doing a Curb rewatch, who features heavily in Curb, who's all kinds of awesome. So that was a great shot as well.
Yeah, we skipped on that book tour he did recently, where he did ops at like one of those NYC Barnes and Nobles. That was honestly probably a mistake, but a lot of those at such weird times. I mean, who the hell wants to take off for that?
That's the issue. I can't really do 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, those kind of things. It calls into question who is able to go to these things, Although I did take off for the Arnold book signing that time, so I am not consistent. But I think Arnold's different from whatever. I digress. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, good, bad, or otherwise, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Autograph Collecting Community on Facebook. All our links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, or, frankly, all three. We need our subscription numbers up. Subscription numbers help us with the algorithm. So if you listen, please subscribe. The way I have my stats tell me that fewer than half of our listeners are actually subscribed, which means instead of having an app easily deliver our episodes to you, you are manually going and clicking around. So please subscribe. It benefits us and it benefits you.
Yes, don't be a hunter-gatherer for podcasts.
Yeah. And make sure that you leave a rating and a review. Right now, we're stuck at 10 reviews on Apple Podcasts. I would love some more reviews on Apple Podcasts. You can also leave us a rating if you like the show. Obviously, hopefully it's 5 stars, but whatever, you do you. We also we love some ratings on Spotify, and of course we also love thumbs up, thumbs down, comments on YouTube. YouTube is fun to engage with. All right, it is time now for our topic of the week. We've been punting on this topic, it seems like forever.
This is the topic of the month. Forget the week.
Yeah, you know what's funny about this topic is that it is entirely born of sort of a fundamental disagreement as far as how we look at the world. And it really, this is a debate between us that's been going on for literally years. And I remember exactly when that debate started. It's when I was organizing my photos on Facebook into folders, into albums.
Your first mistake, but go on.
Why is that a mistake to organize into albums?
You lock yourself in. I'll get to it later, but you lock yourself into these things. There's people that are so like locked into these albums where when you get a new photo, they got to upload it 7 different places because it fits 7 different albums. Now, I went in that direction once.
Only one.
I went down that road at one point. I'm like, no, I can't. It was too much organization. I needed to just do it by year, and I was done.
So anyway, I organized my. Jeez, I'm yawning. I organized my photos into albums, and one of the albums was A-listers. And I can't remember who it was, but I remember that in organizing my albums, you had made a comment that, what? Why isn't so-and-so in the A-lister album? And my reply was, because they're not an A-lister. And you went nuts. And you said, no, of course they are, blah, blah, blah. And it's just an interesting kind of thing. It kind of always happens whenever we get a big guest, so to speak, that we debate whether they're A-list and what A-list even means. And I don't know. So also in terms of the hobby, one of the things that is unique to the collectors of the special subset of collectors of our hobby is whether things count or not. Like, I think most people get things because they like them for themselves, but with us and our sort of community, there's a little bit of an expectation that others recognize your achievements, whatever that looks like. And so, thinking about who counts and what counts, you're going back to like when Klaas went out and got Bill Gates. Right, there are some people who wouldn't consider Bill Gates like autograph worthy or photo op worthy at all. That he doesn't really fall into the celebrity realm, And does he even classify as being on the list? And so what I did was, to prepare for this conversation, I made a little bit of a quiz of sorts for you to see what your assessment of certain names is to determine whether they're A-listers. And I'm actually going to add some more as well to I'll add some current con guests to try and trip you up. So let's go. I guess let's start with the first question, because I want to hear your perspective on this. What does it take to be an A-lister?
And we're talking A-lister in culture and society, not so much a con A-lister, correct?
What, an actual A-lister? What society would consider an A-lister? Yes, I think.
Well, back in the day, it would have been a consistent and just high-performing box office track record. But nowadays, with streaming and the growth of like television as a vehicle, where you have A-listers strictly from like their shows, to me, that don't really touch the box office marquee very often. honestly, it all gets a little dicier and a little harder to really tangibly call out. Like Kardashian, I think would probably fall as an A-lister to anyone's standard, despite the fact that she really hasn't contributed anything meaningful to culture or Hollywood or anything. But I mean, she's just huge on a magnitude that would have to put her on some list.
Well, yeah, I mean, like she couldn't, but what's interesting is she certainly couldn't open a movie. Like if you put her on the marquee of a movie, it wouldn't do well.
No, but I mean, if you're gonna like influence something on social media, if you're looking for engagement, which I mean, that opens up a whole new can of worms that I don't think we were even prepared for. That you have people like Ice Show Speed, and I mean, Logan Paul before WWE that were like massive in their realms, but I mean, the average post-pubescent human didn't even know who the hell they were. So, like, would you call that an A-lister? Probably not. But I mean, it's honestly, it's very difficult to really hammer down in 2025 what an A-lister is. But I am currently looking at your A-list folder on Facebook, and I am absolutely judging you on several of these.
For example, what?
For example, Milo Ventimiglia, who I mean, Heroes had a moment, but he that went really quick. I loved This Is Us, but I mean, he hasn't done anything now in years since then. I don't think he's truly an A-lister, maybe a television A-lister.
So having the top-rated show on TV for two different shows where you were the marquee star is not A-list?
Was there a marquee star? I mean, if you look at the hardware, Sterling K. Brown was the marquee star of This Is Us.
What do you mean
he won all the Emmys. I don't think Milo ever got anything.
No, right, Emmy-wise, yeah, I know. But in terms of the promo poster, the advertising, Milo was front and center.
I think more for season one. I think it leaned pretty heavily on the collective, I think, as it went on. And Sterling's career is the one that took the leap, I believe, since the show, more so than Milo. But I mean, you have what's the woman's name from American Idol? The hell's her name? I'm looking at her picture. You don't put the name on your photos. The host with Simon, Paula Abdul. I don't think 2025. And I don't want to just poke fun at your list, but I mean, come on. You have Paula Abdul as an A-list. You have Jonathan Groff. He's on A-list.
Why did I put Jonathan Groff? Might have been a mistake in there because he's not an A-lister.
Okay.
Paula Abdul is 100% an A-lister, 100%. When you have someone who's been, again, two completely different careers, both were culture changing. Actually, I would argue three different careers. She was a dancer, she was a singer, and then she was a reality show participant. With all three were like rode the cultural zeitgeist. To me, she's one of the more no-brainer A-listers on that list. Compared to Jonathan Groff, I think I miscategorized there in that folder. What else do I have in there?
Of just outrageous things and oversights. I don't know if I would put Steve Buscemi in the A-list. I mean, his driving vehicle was Boardwalk Empire, arguably, which was never as well received as I think it should have been. It was never really like on the pulse of society. I think he's probably an oversight.
I think what I tried to do with that folder was put people in there who I consider a higher level than con guests. You know what I mean? Steve Buscemi is at a higher level than con guests. He's a permanent working actor. So yeah, I don't know if I would consider him an A-lister either. That's probably very fair.
And I mean, using that argument, now I'm going to it. And listeners, I promise we're not just going to make fun of Sean's list the entire time. We're bringing this to the larger collective of like what is an A-list for, what does it matter on a convention level. But you have in your non-A-list folder, you have Ray Romano, you have Jason Momoa. You have a lot of people that I would argue, I mean, should be. Batista, you got several people in this acting album that are bigger than the ones you have in the A-list, which is maybe more about you, just not Ewan McGregor you have here. Like, come on.
But Ewan McGregor's not on the A-list?
No. So I think the bigger...
Ewan McGregor he can't carry a movie.
Neither can Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi couldn't carry a DVD.
Yeah, no, Steve Buscemi is not an A-lister, yes. But
Orlando Bloom should be in the A-list.
I don't think he should.
Macaulay Culkin, 1,000%. Come on.
Macaulay Culkin has proven time and time again that he can't carry a movie because everything he did after Home Alone flopped. So everything flopped. His whole career flopped. So you
have Mel Gibson not considered an A-lister because you're with Danny Glover, who you are holding back from A-list, even though they are an A-list pair.
I actually think that's such a recent upload that I never actually just segregated it into the A-list folder. That's also possible. Because at some point I just stopped doing all these, what do you call organizations? All right, so let me go to my list. So because these are active con guests right now. So let's see what we have to say. Bryce Dallas Howard.
As a convention guest, I think she's definitely upper echelon. I don't really think on her own she's going to really open a movie.
So do you consider her A-list by your standard?
If I was locking myself in, that's why I'm telling you these folders are a bad idea. If I had a folder of the upper echelon, probably.
Elliot Page.
No.
James McAvoy.
Yes.
See, James McAvoy is a no for me.
Come on. I would argue that new prequel X-Men may have been better than the original movies, which I guess probably isn't saying a hell of a lot. He had Split, which was
X-Men and X-Men 2 are great. I mean, Split was a moderate hit, but really Split was a hit not on his back. Split drew on the M. Night Shyamalan train.
Oh, come on. M. Night Shyamalan's train derailed long ago. He's had more clunkers than anything else of late.
Right. But his name still draws somewhat. I'm looking at that horrible movie. Oh God, what was where people were aging? Was it Old? I think was it called? That did okay, despite the super low budget garbage because of his name. I don't think James McAvoy meets. He's not an A-list in my opinion. Ming-Na Wen.
No.
Nicholas Hoult.
Absolutely.
I'm also going to say no.
He was the highest paid guy in Superman.
It's what is that? That I mean, that's because they hired an unknown to play Superman, so of course he'd be the highest paid.
He arguably gets the most screen time in Nosferatu, right up there with Lily Rose Depp. So I mean, he's got his horror credit. He's got a bunch of other stuff. That's what I'm most excited for at NYCC. Well, not the most, but one of.
I'm excited for him. I just don't think he's an A-lister. He's not someone who captures the essence of the moment like some of these people did or do. So this is going to be an interesting one. Sigourney Weaver.
Higher than A-list. She is an icon. And I think what I'm hearing you run through this and hearing the arguments, personally, I'm getting to a point where I don't feel as though the term A-list really means anything at this point. But I'll get to that in a few. I think it's we've passed A-list and B-list and so on.
Weaver, I think, is a genuine A-lister. It's interesting because she's the reason why she's at cons is because of Ghostbusters and Alien, right? But her career outside of that has still been so huge. And I mean, she's done acting in every genre. It's really remarkable that they were able to score her for a Comic-Con. I mean, even stuff like I'm trying to look at her other things in her credits that were huge. She was in A Monster Calls. That was kind of big. She was in Finding Dory. That's, a huge thing. She was in that TV miniseries Political Animals that was very well received. She was that iconic role which I absolutely loved, Cabin in the Woods. She was huge in that. Of course, Avatar, which didn't draw on her back, it drew on the basically Jim Cameron drew for that. She's just been in so many things. She was in Holes Holes did really, really well that time. She was in Heartbreakers. That was an unexpected comedic hit. There's just so many things that she's done that it's very hard to not consider her. Even her starring role, Gorillas in the Mist, was pretty big. Yeah, she's a really significant name. So I have no problem putting Sigourney Weaver on the A list. What about Shimu Liu?
I didn't know who the hell he was until I looked it up. Granted, I'm not deep down the Marvel hole. I'll say no, but I think given the fact that there's probably not a ton of actors in U.S. cinema that look like him in his age group, I think he's probably going to carve out a very nice little spot for himself. I think he will be an A-list, but right now I don't think he's... at this point, I would hold A-list more about being a household name than I would about being like, oh, well, you carried 6 movies on your back. Because carried it where? Like, how do we really quantify Netflix hits and all this other stuff that it's not so easy as weekly box office charts?
Yeah. Also, he's an interesting one because he was an up-and-comer on that show Kim's Convenience, that Korean American, it was actually Canadian show about the convenience store. Did you ever see it?
I didn't, but you've raved about it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really funny. And so he was kind of an up-and-comer, like someone to look for. And then Marvel snatched him up, and now like the sky's the limit for someone like him. So I actually think he does have A-list potential. I don't think he's there yet. And I think in some ways doing genre stuff like superheroes and horror actually hurts people. It hurts their ceiling, because then you become typecast a little bit. But I think he's on his way. What about Larry Fishburne?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely on a con level, which is what we're going to sort of spin this around to. Because, I mean, there's people you're saying aren't A-listers and people you're saying are A-listers. And the person that you're saying isn't an A-lister would far lap these people at cons. Like, who really gives a crap about A-list? But yeah, I mean, this dude's done it all, honestly. TV, film, he has the Matrix franchise. He has, Boys in the Hood, which is my personal favorite of his. He really hits and checks all the boxes.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny because I am getting him for his, minor role in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. But also the guy that did the Matrix, which was genre defining. It was decade defining, in the 90s. And then he goes on and reinvents himself again and is on Blackish, where he just has this whole other side of his acting ability and his characters. And he's a no-brainer for me. What about David Duchovny?
Yeah, of course. You're talking the X-Files, which has now transcended like decades and reboots and everything else. That it's got a strong cult following. I loved Californication. I think honestly, it had a moment. It was a moderate hit for Showtime in its time. It's just one of those shows like a True Blood that really hasn't aged very well. No one really like speaks fondly of it, but I liked it. He's on my list.
I'd say he's borderline for me. Only because his career fell so hard after X-Files. He tried a bunch of movie roles; they all flopped very hard. And so it's kind of like an Anthony Edwards type situation, right? Because you wouldn't consider Anthony Edwards an A-lister, would you?
I don't know if and maybe this is just my bias because I didn't really watch that show, but I don't really know if and I think I'm actually disagreeing with the point I'm trying to make. I was going to say that I don't really feel like he really carried that show the way Duchovny carried X-Files, and I don't think that show is really viewed warmly and in any sort of a cult type way like X-Files. I think that would be the difference for me.
No, you're showing your age for sure. ER was significantly bigger than X-Files. Not close, actually.
I mean, who cares what it was?
It ran for 15 years.
No, I understand that, but no one cares about it now. It's not discussed. No one says, "Hey, let's bring it back." Like
I think it among certain populations. I think it's a little bit older. I think it's among women. But it's absolutely a massive, massive, massive property, and he was the face of that show. By far, it wasn't close. But I also think it's interesting because you look at George Clooney, A-lister, Juliana Margulies, A-lister, right? From there, Noah Wyle, probably A-lister.
I think I would disagree on the last two, but okay.
I really?
Again, I don't want to just dissect these different actors. I want to try to push this back towards the hobby more so. But I don't think Noah Wiley. What the hell did he do? Falling Skies, which I don't think anyone really cared about. He did ER. Like beyond that, what has he done?
You're probably right. But Juliana Margulies, The Good Wife alone.
I mean, you're saying so if she's A-list off one show alone, why isn't Duchovny off his one show alone?
No, but you gotta understand the longevity of these shows, the significance. The
X-Files was longer and had more meaningful longevity than The Good Wife.
No, that's definitely not true. It's not even close. X-Files is big in your world, not in the world of actual people. I think that's one of the things that's interesting about these discussions. Something like The Good Wife, again, ask any woman over the age of 45, and they know The Good Wife. It also ran, looks like 7 seasons with her at the helm. X-Files ran, 5 with Duchovny at the helm? 6? And X-Files was a show on Fox at a time when Fox was a much smaller network than ABC.
All right, so here's the thing, and this will sort of push it back to the point of the show. If you go sit David Duchovny and Juliana Margulies next to each other at a convention, I mean, Juliana Margulies could probably get up and take the pictures for David Duchovny. Like, that means absolutely nothing. Right, how many 45-year-old women are coming to the con to meet her?
Well, they're in line, but that sort of speaks to the interesting. I guess we're kind of getting to the point of this. It speaks to the interesting nature of cons and their demographics.
Yes, right? And let's also be fair here, because I think you're underselling Duchovny. There's only 24 episodes of X-Files that Gillian Anderson did without David Duchovny. So this is not
the ones with Robert Patrick.
Yeah, but that's only 24 episodes. This was a Fox network show. He didn't miss that much time. He was there for most of this time. He did 193 episodes, including the reboots. So I mean, if you want to argue, The Good Wife is.
Yeah, but The Good Wife was a hit on a major network. The X-Files was a hit on a minor network at a time when they're very different things.
Yes, but in our world, The Good Wife is not worth a damn thing.
Right, because of the genre stuff, right? Look, in our world, a nobody like frickin' Kane Hodder will draw people to he's a nobody, But that's the nature of this interesting world that we're in, is that, there are, the definition of what is a star or who is a draw, for the longest time, up until pretty recently, being in a horror movie or being in a sci-fi property devalued someone. It was seen as trashy, and only now with the emergence of the comic book movie as being something that's acceptable mainstream has that stigma started to erode. I think it's a nuanced thing. I mean, now people look at Jamie Lee Curtis as Hollywood royalty. For years, she was a joke, right? She was a punchline. You know the joke about Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
I probably know several. I'm not sure which one you're thinking of.
I mean, when I was growing up, the big joke or the big thing about Jamie Lee Curtis was that she was a hermaphrodite.
Never heard that one.
I mean, then you are definitely not plugged into. I mean, she's not, but that was the thing that people used to say. And that was one of she was a genre person until she was able to break out of that. And a lot of that has to do with True Lies helping to break out of that. But anyway, a lot of this argument between us came from our conversation of Sylvester Stallone. He was kind of the impetus for this conversation because to me, Sylvester Stallone is literally the definition of kind of a genre person who's sort of a joke, not to be taken seriously, not a real A-lister. And you went nuts when I made that argument.
It's completely asinine. He's been in I'll make my case. He's been in Rocky, that I feel like is, 45-year-old women, 68-year-old men, children. Anyone you can point at, Rocky Balboa is at least in their consciousness. They're aware of who he is. I think
Rocky is a very, very important. That's probably, and I would argue Rocky is the only argument to make for him.
Listen,
and that everything he's done since then has eroded that.
even if it was, let's stop at Rocky. He's A-list off Rocky, in my eyes. I see Rambo as a step below Rocky in terms of iconic status. But I mean, there were several Rambos. The first one is an absolute classic, and honestly, all the reboots and the sequels are fun to me. I like them. The IMDb scores, which you don't take credit in at all, I do, because it's typically the viewers. I'm sure there's manipulation and bots and different things, but I mean, for the most part, to me, it's one of the better ways of gauging fan opinion on old properties. They love most of them. Then you got the Expendables, which was a surprise hit that he did. I mean, how many people are making hit action movies in their 60s like he was doing? I mean, this dude, now he's got Tulsa King, which is, it's no Sopranos, but I mean, people talk about it. It's moving, has good reviews. The guy is a household name. He could knock at anyone's door in this country, and they're going to know who he is.
What I would say is, for the overwhelming majority of his career, and even I would argue for Rocky to some extent, the fame that Stallone derived was people sort of laughing at him. Not in a comedian way, but in a this guy is a joke kind of way. You know,
I mean, who was like you're laughing like. Maybe I talk to different people. I don't know who was really laughing at Rocky and Rambo and.
So like, you keep saying Rambo. Rambo was it was made fun of at the time that it came out. It was I mean, I know I was alive and I don't know if you were, but it was a joke movie. It was like silly in the same way that like the Arnold, like Red Heat and all those stupid genre movies where they were the overwhelming majority of the population. Like, oh, this is like stupid. It's people blowing stuff up. It's funny. It's fun, but it's stupid. You know, it was not seen as good. It was seen as like stupid fun. That's what that whole genre was. It was dumb.
But that is good. That's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be Sir Laurence Olivier doing things like that. That's what.
No, but what I'm saying is historically, those movies that those people could not be real movie stars because they appealed to the hoi polloi, the riffraff, the wrestling fan, basically.
I get it, but I mean, I could use outdated points in history to say, well, look, like before Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige couldn't be a big leaguer because he was black. Like that's like at a certain point we have to throw out the old definitions of what an A-lister is and sort of update and change with the times.
He has a stupid face. He has a stupid voice. Those were the things that were highlighted and marketed in these things. Right? That's like that was the pitch from him.
I mean, the next guy on your list that we both agree with, Arnold, maybe his stupid voice is more accent related, but I mean, his voice and delivery was mocked just the same as Stallone's. Let's not take the Family Guy era of sort of parodying everything to sort of devalue what he did.
But no. But and I made this. I made this case to you privately. There is literally no comparison between Arnold and Stallone. There's no comparison whatsoever in terms of what the ways in which Arnold has inculcated himself into the pop culture. So the first way that Arnold emerged was as a professional bodybuilder. Now, professional bodybuilding was not a popular sport, okay? It went from being nothing to being a popular sport in the 80s because of Arnold. He became he was already a celebrity when he was a professional bodybuilder, already, okay? Which is crazy. Now, he wasn't an A-lister, but he was a celebrity. I mean, he was on Letterman as a professional bodybuilder, okay? And then that turned into a wildly successful documentary, Pumping Iron, which was a massive success. Documentaries at the time were not box office successes. That was a box office success, Pumping Iron, on the star power of Arnold. So that was the late 70s. Then you have the joke era. Arnold was Conan the Barbarian and all that stupid stuff in the early 80s was him, becoming a part of American culture. And then you have Terminator 2, True Lies, where the era of massive cultural domination, these things, and then you have joke era Arnold, but then Arnold goes and gets himself elected governor of the the state with the largest economy in the U.S., and then in that other way becomes a kind of a cultural touchstone. To me, there's literally no comparison between them. You could say to me the most interesting argument for Stallone is the one that is never made, which is that he wrote Rocky. To me, that adds a layer of complexity and interest. But I mean, to me, like what Stallone has done since then is just joke. But whatever. I agree he's a big name. I just don't consider him A-list for those reasons. And I know that's something that people don't necessarily agree with. Whatever. What about the idea that A-listers don't do cons or that A-listers can't do cons? It seems that they have, and I don't know, like that's the kind of thing that like it gets me twisted knots. Like how am I supposed to take the fact that Sigourney Weaver is doing a con, or that Ben Affleck has done cons, or how do we handle something like that?
I think at this stage of the game, I think the idea that A-listers don't do cons shows how outdated and useless the term A-list is. Because for the time period where Marvel was dominating the box office, every single person they had, basically, outside of Robert Downey Jr., were doing cons. So they were the A-listers of A-listers of A-listers of that time. Hemsworth, Evans, like every movie they touched, and that was it. That was the moment in time was Marvel. And they dominated in everything they did with Marvel. And to me, if anyone was bigger than them, I mean, you could have brought out DiCaprio, you could have brought out the ghost of Brando, and they were not going to outdraw the Marvel guys when those movies were at their hottest. I mean, you have, again, you're talking Star Wars, which is, again, a genre piece, but I mean, at a con level, what's bigger than that? So you had, stars of the original trilogy, the follow-up trilogy. To me, they are absolute A-listers because they're an iconic property or properties, depending on how many they did. And for our world, I mean, again, I don't care. Like, if we want to argue that, someone, I'm trying to think of a name off the top of my head. If someone wants to argue that, let's say, like, Stephen Colbert is a bigger name than maybe, Ewan McGregor in terms of society. I don't know. That was just off the top of my head. In our world, the stars of these genre pieces that are iconic is paramount. That is absolutely what matters. I don't know if the world really has an A-list labeling the way it used to, and with the same definitions that it used to have. Because, I mean, think about, like, people half the time, which always sort of enrages me, but people will discover old things. It's like, oh, this new movie on Netflix. It's like, this was out 9 years ago, and no one cared 9 years ago, and now we all care because it's on Netflix. I think I read something that the Wind River movie that I've raved about with Olsen and what's the dude's name that almost lost his leg with Jeremy Renner. Those two, that's like a huge hit now on Netflix. People are consuming that in huge numbers, and it's really getting some good buzz. But I mean, that movie was a flop. I don't even know. I wouldn't call it a flop, but it wasn't meant to be big. It was one of those little like small budget, small screen type releases. So I don't think there is an A-list anymore. I don't think there is just big names. I think social media following. I think convention lines. I think all of that is largely what makes someone. I don't think that there's very few people today, including the Cruzes and the DiCaprios, that have unblemished records of carrying everything without flops or deviation from the success. So I don't think there is really an A-list in the way you are using it. That's why I think that album on Facebook is a mistake. But at the same time, you would be gobsmacked if a Cruz or a DiCaprio did a con. Well, yeah, because they are bigger.
They're a level above these people, right?
But I mean,
they're above Stallone. They're above.
I don't think I would view them. Oh, but of course, Nicholas Hoult. But I mean, I don't think I would really have that shock. It would be more so the same shock I had when Nails was booked for WrestleCon. It's largely the idea that they haven't done anything close to this, and it would be shocking. But I mean, like, let's say like Arnold did a con. If Arnold did a con, no one off merit alone is going to shock me. It's just the idea of your history has never shown me this was going to happen. But I wouldn't be that gobsmacked if let's say DiCaprio writes a memoir in 5 years and he does like McConaughey level appearances with photo ops. I mean, Kobe Bryant did one. Why can Leo not? Especially since Leo was super accommodating on this last press run recently, a few days ago in the city. He was doing selfies with everybody. So, I mean, would I be shocked if he did a book signing in time? No, I wouldn't. Maybe I'm delusional. Same with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the guy who's the most fan-friendly when the lights are the brightest because he's putting on a show. Would he be above doing a Barnes & Noble photo op for a book the way Kobe did? I don't think so. I don't think any of these people are too big for it. It's just the idea, are they too old for it? Like, I think like Ford, I think Eastwood, I think Morgan Freeman, I think they're just old, crotchety, and close enough to death that they're just not going to really do anything. But it's not because of their resumes. It's just because they're too old and too set in their ways at this point to really adapt to the new time.
Yeah, I do think though that when you have someone coming in for, and again, the reason, the kind of the impetus for this conversation on this podcast is the Sigourney Weaver pricing, where it's like hundreds of dollars per item, and it's just like, okay, I understand that's what needs to be charged for a top level person to come in, but at what point do we say we don't want them in if that's what it takes to bring them in? That there are other ways these people can be paid. Like they should be. I sort of, we're detouring here, but I sort of miss the days at NYCC where the signings would be promotional in nature because they were promoting a movie or something, and they would come in and you'd have these people whose fees would be paid by Marvel, these fees would be paid by whoever, Paramount.
Oh, I don't miss that.
Oh, I mean, the other option is paying hundreds of dollars for everything. And I understand though the psychology of wanting certainty, but I also, the bigger picture here is that the financial viability of this is being driven off a cliff. I am very curious to see what NYCC looks like, and I imagine what I'm going to see is scores and scores of people spending their disability checks on these things, and it's just going to send me into a little bit of a spiral. Knowing that is not sustainable. It's not, and we're going to see the end. If you can, if there's no way to pay for this stuff really, then we're going to see the end, and bleeding people dry with booking these top names who need to be paid $500,000 for the weekend. What's funny is some of these people will do indie movies where they make $50,000 or $100,000, and here they are, asking for $500,000 for a weekend, and this is the consequence for our hobby. I think.
Here's the way I see it, and I'm glad now. I hope that we didn't go a little too Hollywood Reporter for the last 15 minutes, getting into the different merits of an A-lister. All of that was building to this. This right here is where it sort of resonates for us. I view a convention, and maybe I am just. That's actually no maybe involved. I am a lunatic who spends way too much money. I should probably have several more zeros on my tax documents for the amount of money I spend on luxury goods, unquestionably. So I'm like Charlie Sheen off a couple crack rocks, talking to people now about making wise drug choices. I get that, but I sort of view the whole thing. I don't think anything's going to crash. I just think it's getting to a point, and we're already there, I believe, where much like I look at a convention the way I look at, let's say, an episode of Monday Night Raw or SummerSlam, whereas everything goes up, and there's if you want to drop $8-9 grand and sit ringside, same way if you want to pony up the cash and meet Sly or one of the A-listers. You can. There it is. There's the line. There's the aisle of seats. You can pay that money if you are deranged enough like me, wealthy enough like others where they can make those choices soundly, and you can do what you want to do. You can sort of make your own experience. And the same way if you can't, well, guess what? There's the Phineas and Ferb line. There's the 300 section of the stadium or the arena. And yeah, maybe the prices are too much and it was more affordable when we were kids, but that's life. When we first started getting flip phones, they weren't $1,500 like the Apple ones are, or $1,200 like the Samsung ones. That's life. And guess what? If you can't afford that and you can't go in debt like the rest of the world, you can buy something cheaper. They have off-brand. They got the burner phones. They got all these different things, prepaids. You can do things. You can go meet Rhonda at the booth at Comic-Con. I don't think anything is going to crash. I think it's just there's more tiers. The same way everyone is not going to be able to see a SummerSlam ringside. Not everyone's going to be able to meet the tippity top name. As long as these names and the guarantees are able to be paid, and we're able to have enough fans willing and able to do it, I think you can have multiple models existing just fine.
I'm not sure that's what they're going for though, because what happens is when these top names come in charging hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, it basically it kind of crunches it pulls the other names up, because now Phineas and Ferb aren't $40, they're $80, right? And so that's, or whatever they are. I didn't even look. And it just kind of, everything gets dragged to a place where, it's funny because you use an analogy that normal people can't afford to go to baseball games anymore in many stadiums because the ticket prices are too high. In WWE, you're going to see, as they continue raising prices, people aren't going to be able to bring their families. And so that has an effect on the next generation of who's going to be into this stuff. The problem is we're seeing an era of taking lowbrow entertainment, comic books, wrestling, video games. This is lowbrow stuff. This is stuff that is intended for the poor, for the stupid. Sorry, myself included, the uneducated, the hoi polloi, right? That's what this is intended for. And they're taking it and they're applying it to the economics of the middle class. And when that happens, it's gonna work up to a point, and I believe you'll have a generational crash where then it's because this will be inaccessible to a large swath of people. We're gonna see it's kind of like the wrestling cons, right? There used to be a wrestling con. We've already seen this model. There was a wrestling con every weekend a couple years ago. Now there's hardly any wrestling cons around, and more are dying. Right? Is Wrestle Bash alive or is it dead?
I mean, it kind of seems a little Weekend at Bernie's-ish. I think they're still sort of dragging it around, talking about it, but I'm not seeing any movement.
These things will die because they've effectively alienated the people who were their bread and butter. And so there's two ways of dealing with that. Either they find a new population, which these cons might do. But you open your eyes, look around at the number of people, the disabled, the impoverished, who are still at these cons, just going into debt. That's where you get those people are going to disappear.
Well, listen, that's the American way. If cons weren't putting them into debt, they'd probably put themselves into debt some other way.
Well, but the point is that there will be a time, I think, in the near future it's like a black hole, right? You build and you build and you build, and you hit the event horizon. And all of a sudden, boom, we disappear. And I think that's going to happen with the con world as they continue to bring these big names in. You're going to start seeing economic unsustainability. We've already seen it in the comic book companies not being able to afford their booths anymore at these shows, right? This is a thing that's starting to happen. So I think we're in for an interesting next couple of years in cons.
I do see your point. I agree with aspects of it. I think to just sort of touch on the wrestling news, I think that kind of ties into this larger like concept that we're discussing today, with WWE bringing not this one, the following WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia, and the check is damn good. They're getting, I think, $250 million for that, and I think the entire city of Las Vegas is financial gain from the event. Forget TKOs. It's the overall area, which is bigger than what TKO was seeing, was less than what TKO themselves is receiving for having this show. but there is definitely a trickle down there. You have, fathers and sons and families and different people that would have attended this, WrestleMania had it been in the States and would have made memories. And then maybe you would have, how many lifelong fans are not being made because this show's in Saudi Arabia?
Correct.
How many people 20 years from now are not at a convention because, if we look at like this is like a sort of butterfly effect timeline, they weren't at WrestleMania. I forget what number it's going to be with their dads making memories like other people did. And I mean, if this is probably the tip of the iceberg of what's going to be in Saudi Arabia, because I mean, they're going to keep cutting these checks. And if I was TKO, I mean, in the short term, you're a publicly traded company that you have stock shareholders to answer to. It's a no-brainer. You're not turning down piles of cash. If Saudi Arabia wants us to bring our Evolve boys to Saudi Arabia, listen, goodbye, big event. Sorry to the fans. I mean, the refunds will be issued promptly. We will be in Saudi Arabia. I don't blame them. But I mean, there's definite ramifications to this. I don't know if it's quite as severe because, I mean, it's not like... Also, there's probably going to be a night one of WrestleMania in the States. That's probably how it's going to go. So that there will be a memory. There will be an opportunity. And so much like conventions, you have choices and you have... But I hear you. Phineas and Ferb and everyone else is going to be pulled up from these prices. But I mean, I think that kind of push-pull... I don't think there's a black hole coming. I think it'll all sort of, level off. I just think there's going to be a level of this hobby that is a lot more, I don't want to say affluent because not everyone making these decisions are going to be affluent to, making these purchases. But it's going to be sort of the extra good clout is not for the squeamish, and you got to pay to play on those.
Very fair. So what's coming up for us? Well, we spent a lot of time indirectly talking about New York Comic-Con. We have to figure out when we're doing our go-home show for New York Comic-Con. Is that going to be next weekend, or when are we doing that?
Shoot. I guess it probably... I mean, like, we're not recording on Thursday. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's got to be next weekend. Yeah,
we got to... Yeah, okay. So, there you go.
The go-home show. So, next week's show will be our NYCC budgets and schedules.
I'm not ready for that, but okay.
And then we have Reese Witherspoon. I'm curious to see who else we'll see there at her event on Monday. I'm still crossing my fingers that the VIP is taking place before the show.
It's good. Here's how it's going to go. It's going to be after the show, and that irrelevant person she's doing this with will be the person we're standing next to, and she's on the opposite side of him.
No, I'm not. That's not acceptable. We have Chill Out Con that will be there. Chiller Theater. I'm really, really, really rooting for something. Some 11th hour Hail Mary. They book someone that I'm interested in, because right now it is not looking good after the cancellation of Stephen Ogg last week.
Here's my reality. First of all, I would absolutely love to do both in one day. I feel like if we did it on a Saturday, it might be possible. Because I mean, I'm not getting everybody here. I mean, I have to hit the pro op of Gene Simmons. That's like the big thing that you can't really move. Everything else, I mean, we could probably do a long Saturday and hit them both. I don't want to do two. Whether you're coming or not, I don't want to make 2 trips to Jersey. That sucks.
Totally. So yeah, we got to figure that out. And then everything else after that is in November, and we'll deal with that in the future. So if you're shopping for autographs, once again, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out autograph collecting community on Facebook. And once again, we are promoting our private signings with Swerve, Strickland, and Goldberg. We have metallic prints that are available for pre-order. Those prints will not be printed outside of pre-orders. They're pre-order only. There will be no inventory on those. Also, soon, but not yet, because we're still assembling images, you'll be able to, if you're not able to make it to the big event to meet the boys, the Vanity Project, Jackson Drake, Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, there will be mail-ins available if you're not able to meet them. Also, also Emily J. the Stunner will be at that show with us. And so we're going to get print options probably I think by middle October.
Yeah, I'm still like a lot of this is organic. I have for most of these people, I have like 35 different print options I could run tomorrow. I am just organically waiting for more prints that I like, more images that I like to come out so I can sort of work my magic and try to have all fresh offerings. And I was laughing to myself when you were talking about the signings, like, promoting our privates. Like that's something right there. You don't want to have a misplaced pause. If the big event goes poorly, perhaps we will be promoting our privates, but not right now.
Yeah. Oh, God. And on that note, for Marked Out Collectibles, markedout.com, Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
I'm Dana.
And we'll see you next week with our New York Comic Con hype show.